आजादी का अमृत महोत्सव।
Azadi ka Safar with AIR News. Birth of a Nation. India's glorious freedom struggle is one of the greatest struggles the modern world has ever witnessed. AIR News brings you a glimpse of the struggle every day.
"72 years ago, on 26 January 1950, India became a republic. While India had been running its own affairs since the actual transfer of power from British to Indian hands on 15 August 1947, 26 January 1950 marked the severing of our last ties with Britain. The Indian National Congress, in the annual session of 1929 in Lahore, had passed the historic Purna Swaraj resolution, making a public declaration to celebrate 26 January 1930 as Independence Day. Thus, to commemorate that Purna Swaraj resolution, the date of 26 January was chosen to implement the constitution.
India's first president, Dr Rajendra Prasad, was sworn in as India's head of state, replacing the king, and the Constitution of India was ratified. With the 1950 Constitution, the country was officially known as the Republic of India, a sovereign, socialist, secular democratic republic that secures all its citizens justice, liberty, equality and fraternity according to its preamble. The Constitution gave India's citizens the power to govern themselves by choosing their own government.
In 1950, the day began in Delhi with the 34th and the last Governor-General of India, Chakravarti Rajagopalachari, reading out a proclamation announcing the birth of the Republic of India. Indonesia's President Sukarno was the chief guest on the occasion. Dr Rajendra Prasad took oath as India's first president at the Durbar Hall in the Government House. The president then addressed the crowd first in Hindi and then in English.
Today, for the first time in our long and checkered history, we find the whole of this vast land brought together under the jurisdiction of one constitution and one union, which takes over responsibility for the welfare of more than 320 million men and women who inhabit it.
Dr. Prasad unfurled the Tiranga, India's national flag. He drove in his state coach and was greeted by thousands of people along the way. He also visited Rajghat and paid homage to Mahatma Gandhi.
In the early years, the celebrations were held in different places, at the Red Fort, the Irvin Stadium, and even in the Ramlila grounds. But from 1955, after the military parade began, the ceremony was shifted to Rajpath. It has remained there ever since.
Let us listen to glimpses of Republic Day celebration from the early 1950s.
Amid scenes of unforgettable splendor, Delhi celebrated the first anniversary of the Indian Republic. A huge concourse of people witnessed the President's ceremonial drive along Kingsway. The parade by the armed forces, at which Dr. Rajendra Prasad took the salute, was watched by a large and distinguished gathering. Earlier, the President presented 4 Paramveer Chakras for gallantry during the Jammu and Kashmir operation. After the presentation ceremony, units of the armed forces, headed by heavy tanks, marched past the saluting base. The smart turnout of the officers and men and their soldierly bearing won repeated applause from the jubilant crowd.
The Republic Day Parade is led by the 3 divisions of the Indian Armed Forces, Navy, Air Force and the Indian Army. Besides this, there are several cultural tableaux. rally of marching soldiers, military bands, aircraft shows, and display of spectacular skill and daring on military vehicles. It is one of the most spectacular parades in the world. People from many parts of the world especially visit India during this time to witness the grandeur of the celebrations of the Republic Day in Delhi.
The festivities officially come to a close on January the 29th with the beating retreat ceremony in New Delhi, where bands from the Indian Army, Navy and the Air Force perform.
That brings us to the end of this episode of Azadi Ka Safar with AIR News. See you in the next episode tomorrow.